Hi, I'm Lulu. Welcome to my channel. I'm really glad you're here. So, I want to tell you all about the meetup. We had a meetup in Missouri, the way that it originated. So, there's this woman named Clara. She lives in Kansas, and I met her about a year ago at a van life festival in Missouri. She came from Kansas, I came from Boston. And so we met there and we were in a crowd together and we met each other and socialized. And then she showed me her van. And so, yeah, so we exchanged numbers and we've kept in touch. And so she knows that I'm in Iowa, which is pretty close to Kansas. So she suggested that we get together. So I figured from her city in Kansas, my city in Iowa, there was a 5 hour drive. So what I did was, I'm going to tell you how I found this spot for us to meet, which eventually turned out to be a meetup. Um, what I did was I went into Google Maps and I said from my place in Iowa to her place in Kansas. So it gave a route for 5 hours. So what I did was I went to her end and I clicked and dragged the endpoint away from her place, and I went back, I backtracked on the line, and as I was backtracking it was reducing the time. So I waited until it reduced the time all the way down to 2.5 hours because I knew I'd be halfway there. So I let go and I see the area that it chose. So I knew this would be 2.5 hours for each of us. So I zeroed in on it, and right in that area, I saw a little body of water. And I thought meeting on a body of water would be nice because we're just going to spend the day. We're just going to hang out for the day. Um, So I learned that it was called Brookfield City Lake. Well, didn't this turn out to be the most beautiful place? So Clara and I decided that we were going to open it up. I was going to announce it on my channel, and anybody that wanted to join us was free to join us. So heard from a whole load of people, which was so awesome. So now I've got like over a dozen people coming to this meetup, and I don't really know anything about this lake at all. So I don't know anything about this lake, and I thought, let me get some information about it. So I called City Hall, and so this woman that I spoke to, she said, "Oh, let me transfer you to the city manager. She'll know all about the lake." So spoke with the city manager of Brookfield, Missouri, and she was so helpful, so helpful. She told me what side of the lake to go to, the street, and she explained the parking there. I emailed her later asking if there were restrooms there. She sent me a map with the restroom circled, so we knew exactly where the restroom was. And she was so helpful. And she was very curious about why I was calling and what was going on. So I told her the whole story. So she said to me, "Why don't you stop in City Hall and say hi before you go there?" And I said, "Well, why don't you come down to the lake on your lunch hour and meet us all?" And she's like, "I just might do that." So turns out this place was beautiful, absolutely beautiful. But let me back up to the drive from here in Iowa to Brookfield City Lake, Missouri. I was in heaven with this ride. When I got on Highway 11 east of Brookfield. When I say highway, I use that term very loosely because I think that's what it's called, but it's really this little skinny 2-lane street. But I never went west of it, so I can't speak for the west of Brookfield. But east of Brookfield, oh my God. Oh, I wish I could have got it on film, and I couldn't. I'll tell you why. First of all, there was no place for me to like pull over. No place to pull over. This little skinny road. Um, if I was going to pull over, I was going to be on the grass, and it would have been like possibly going down in a ditch. I would have only pulled over if it was an emergency. And I would never be able to capture what I experienced on a video, so I didn't bother. It was absolutely amazing. So the road was like this, the whole miles and miles, up up and down, and then you'd get this. You'd go up, and then you'd come up, and you'd get this amazing view of like rolling hills, the most green rolling hills with scattered trees. And then you would see the whole road up ahead for miles, and you would see all the bumps. You'd see all the hills. And it was just all a road of hills. Hills to the right, hills to the left. The road was hills. It was just the hills are alive. That's what all I could think of. The hills are alive. It was so amazing. And like sometimes I would come up over a hump, and I was coming up, and I would really have no idea what was going to be at the top. It looked like all I could see was the sky and all this trees on side of me. And I'd come over, and sometimes I would come over and see this amazing landscape for miles. Sometimes I would come up, and all of a sudden it would go right down, and I would like lose my stomach. It was like I was on a roller coaster because the speed limit was like 60. It was just a blast. I loved that drive. I loved the view. Oh, it was just like this is what makes traveling in a van just like the best thing ever. The best thing ever. Um, I hope to see many more special spots like this in my travels going forward. Um, it gives me a whole new idea on back roads and just looking for those scenic roads. It was just absolutely amazing. And then when I got there to our spot at the lake, it was amazing. The women that came, amazing. We had the best day. We met there around 11. We all left around 3. Who showed up around 1? The woman from City Hall. She came. She wanted to meet us all. She wanted to know where everybody was from. And she just thought it was just like the best thing that we were all in Brookfield, Missouri. Little old Brookfield, Missouri. Oh, it was so great. And she was just lovely. She was so excited for us. Um, and these women, I tell you, there was 13 of us. Um, there were about 17 of us that originally were going, but they had to cancel at the last minute. Things happen. Uh, but we each took a turn, one at a time, and just kind of told our story. Where you from? Just what's going on? What's your background? Like, what's your story? What's your van life story? What's your travel story? And everybody took a turn. Everybody took a turn, and 2 hours later, we were still hearing stories about each other. Um, I skipped a turn because I knew everybody already knows everything about me. If you watch my channel, you know everything about me. But it was just such a blast. We all brought lunch, and we all sat and had lunches. It was a day I'll never forget. It was just a beautiful day. And I love that a lot of these women met that live in the same area of each other. Um, and perhaps they might do some meetups, of their own in the future. There was one woman drove from Arkansas. She came the furthest. I think she drove almost 8 hours to get here for an afternoon. There was another woman from Iowa, I think. There was a woman from Nebraska. Um, there was several women from Kansas, several women from Missouri. So it was just joy, absolute joy.